What's up everyone, Hero276 here, and welcome to my 500 subscriber video special. Today we got a fun team for you with none other than one of my fan favorites on this channel, CLOYSTER. So we're going to see that in action today, picking up a lead up against Galarian Stunfisk. Going to start off the video here just staying in here, looking to catch a Rock Slide at some point. But first, I'm going to build up some energy and commit a shield. Rock Slide would do a ton of damage onto CLOYSTER, so I'm just going to build up a ton of energy. And then in comes the Runerigus to catch the resisted Rock Slide. Rock Slide here, not going to be doing a whole lot of damage to Runerigus whatsoever. So we're just going to farm up with Runerigus, go for the Sand Tomb. But my opponent does make a catch onto the Azumarill, so Sand Tomb going to be lowering the Azumarill's defense. But this is good here, because now the Azumarill is staying in. They're switch locked and their defense is lowered. So I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball real quick. Hopefully get a shield back, and we do get the shield back. Azumarill is going to be farming up a bunch of energy, and just as I get to the Sand Tomb, they're going to be throwing a move here. This is going to take me out. I don't really care about the Runerigus anymore, so I let it go down. Come in with the Qwilfish, and now we're just going to Poison Jab all the way down. I'm going to tank the move here on the Qwilfish. Qwilfish going to tank a Play Rough. It hurts a bit, but Qwilfish lives it and farms all the way down. So now we're going to have to see what the opponent decides to come in with. They are waiting out their clock. It is a Venusaur. So this is a really good matchup for the Qwilfish. We're able to reach Dark Pulse, and at this point, I'm just hoping my opponent doesn't shield. They don't shield. And now I can safely let my Hisuian Qwilfish go down. Qwilfish has done its job, and CLOYSTER is going to clean up this game. Shadow CLOYSTER. Unfortunately, my opponent does reach a Rock Slide. They make a very nice snipe here with the G-Fisk. But Avalanche is in a position where it will KO this G-Fisk if they decide not to shield. Opponent lets the move go through, and Ice Shard KOs the Venusaur. So starting off the game very nicely with Shadow CLOYSTER able to close. Hopping into game number 2, leading Shadow CLOYSTER into Medicham. This is atrocious, so we're going to switch into the Qwilfish, and we lure out a Dewgong. Now, Dewgong is kind of nice to lure out, as it does do very well up against the Runerigus in the back, so we're going to go for a Dark Pulse here. Dark Pulse does some nice damage. We can safely let one Icy Wind go through, but I'm actually going to just shield it, because I really do want to win switch advantage here in this matchup. So now I'm going to go for an Aqua Tail. I don't think this is the right play because Dewgong already got a shield. They know Aqua Tail will not KO, especially because it's debuffed and resisted. So now I'm forced to commit 2 shields in this matchup as opposed to just having one and going straight for the Dark Pulse. But you know, this is still fine. We have switch advantage. In comes Medicham. And at this point, now we can align our Runerigus up against this Medicham. So after they take out my Hisuian Qwilfish, I'm just going to bring in Runerigus. Runerigus here has a very dominant matchup up against Medicham. Ice Punch, though, will do some solid damage to us. Unfortunately, they have Diggersby in the back, and it looks like this game is unfortunately over. This is simply because Runerigus can't output enough damage in this matchup, considering that its only neutral move is fairly weak, and then CLOYSTER here just doesn't have enough bulk to survive an Earthquake. However, we do catch a Fire Punch, which is very nice. It makes this game a little bit easier, but unfortunately, Diggersby just has too much energy. They're going to outpace me to the Earthquake. This will knock out Shadow CLOYSTER, and now it's just the Runerigus in the back. This game is essentially over. So Sand Tomb here, not going to be doing enough damage whatsoever. Sand Tomb gets a shield, actually, so my opponent cannot 2-shield flex. They're going to throw a move right here. It's just a Fire Punch. That doesn't KO. I get to another Sand Tomb. Please, opponent, just put me out of my misery. Come on. Lets the Sand Tomb go through. Medicham in the back reaches the Ice Punch. And that is unfortunately going to be a very long and good game. So, opponent takes that one. Let's hop into game number 3. Hopping into game number 3, picking up a lead up against Galarian Weezing. Unfortunately, we are outpaced in this matchup, so we're just going to stay in here with CLOYSTER. We don't quite get to the Avalanche in time, though we do have one. So I'm going to go and shield the Play Rough, farm up a bit more, and then go for the Avalanche. Avalanche here are going to do some devastating damage to this Galarian Weezing, so they're likely going to shield the move. I'm going to farm up a little bit more, but they decide to throw energy. This feels a little bit too soon to be a Play Rough, so I call the Sludge. It is the Sludge. It doesn't take me out. I'm going to try to catch the next Sludge, but unfortunately, I can't quite do it, and they're able to reach another move. Sludge grabs my final shield. I come in with the Qwilfish, and they bring in a Flygon. So Flygon going to be met with an Aqua Tail here. I actually did the math, and 2 Aqua Tails does more than 1 Dark Pulse, even with Stab. Was it originally a bait? Yes, it was. But was it still calculated? Absolutely. 2 Aqua Tails puts this Flygon into the red. At this point, Qwilfish is going to go down here to an Earthquake, but Cloyster is going to snipe here with an Ice Shard, and now I have a ton of energy for whatever decides to come in. And it's actually going to be a Hypno right here. I blind throw the Avalanche, but my opponent, as you're going to see in a minute, gets scared, throws a shield up, and now I can just come in with the Runerigus. Runerigus here is going to close very nicely. My opponent tries to catch a Shadow Ball, and as soon as they try, they surrender, and that is game, set, and match. Hopping into game number 4, picking up a lead up against Azumarill. So Azumarill is kind of tricky. Hisuian Qwilfish is our designated Azumarill response, but Runerigus and Shadow Cloyster tend to have very poor matchups up against the Azumarill, so I'm actually just going to stay in here and shield up the potential play rough, and as soon as they throw, I come in with the Hisuian Qwilfish, and they throw in a Grand Bull, possibly seeing the Dark typing and switching immediately into Grand Bull, but no, this is Hisuian Qwilfish, and Poison Jabs are absolutely chunking. Unfortunately, so are the Charms, so I'm able to reach one last Aqua Tail. My opponent lets the move go through and gives me switch advantage. That is very, very nice for me. Azumarill going to be coming back in, but this is still an uphill battle. Even though we have one switch advantage, Azumarill is still fairly healthy. So I'm going to go for an Avalanche here. Avalanche is the more energy efficient move, does some solid damage to Azumarill despite being resisted, and we're able to reach a second Avalanche. This Avalanche is going to be getting a shield, and I aggressively switch in the Runerigus. Runerigus is healthy enough to tank any one move from this range, so I no-shield it. It's just the Ice Beam. It still hurts quite a lot. Azumarill throwing another Ice Beam, so I am forced to dump a shield. Unfortunately, I am down shields now. I'm farming up a ton of energy. In comes a Cresselia, and this gives me a huge opportunity. Going for the Sand Tomb here, lowers my opponent's defense, able to reach the Shadow Ball. Is this enough to KO the Cresselia? Ladies and gentlemen, boom! Cresselia goes down to a Shadow Ball. Azumarill will unfortunately farm me down, but it does not have a move, and Shadow Cloyster Ice Shards down for the good game. Hopping into the final game of set number 1, picking up a lead up against Registeel. This is very lethal for my Runerigus, so I'm going to try for a catch. Farming up energy, I switch, and I catch what hopefully should be a Zap Cannon onto Runerigus. Registeel throws the Zap Cannon, that's double resisted. They are farming up energy. In comes an Azumarill, and this is great. I'm going for a Sand Tomb bait here, hoping against hope that I get a shield. And I get the bait, which is very nice. At this point, I have a shield advantage, so I'm just going to let the Runerigus go down, come in with a Hisuian Qwilfish, and Poison Jab all the way down. But first, I wait my clock in case I need to switch into something, so Qwilfish is going to get a huge energy lead right here. Azumarill can throw whatever it wants, but Hisuian Qwilfish should be able to tank it. In this case, it's just an Ice Beam that does about half of my health, but even then, I should be able to farm all the way down and leave with a ton of energy. Let's see what decides to come in. It's going to be the Registeel, but they are going to absorb quite a few Dark Pulses here. Dark Pulse hits very hard with Stab, brings the Registeel into the yellow. Hisuian Qwilfish really flexing out its big attack, going for an Aqua Tail right here, baiting, getting the shield, and we're farming up to another Dark Pulse. Opponent makes a nice catch into Altaria, but this is not enough to save them. This is exactly what Cloyster wants to see in the back. We are farming all the way down, and we should be able to leave with a Hydro Pump for the Registeel, Hydro Pump for the road. Cloyster, send him back to the Distortion world. Opponent appears to have left the match, but it doesn't really matter. The outcome will be the same. Boom! Down goes Registeel, and that is a good game. So now that the set is over and we went 4-1, now is probably a great time to mention that I actually did get this team featured over on Rise to the Occasions channel, over on Spicy Saturdays. So you're more than welcome to check that out using the link in the description. I'll have it there, and you can check it out for yourself. Now into set 2, hopping into game number 6, leading into Altaria. This is a beautiful lead for us. In fact, Ice Shards do so much damage that we don't even need to throw a move. All we need to do is just Ice Shard all the way down, shield once, so that way we don't get taken out by the Sky attack. And by the time we farm down this Altaria, we will have back-to-back avalanches, which is very nice. Opponent comes in with Deoxys defense. I counter with the Hisuian Quillfish. Opponent is going to throw their energy. I can tank one move from this range. Rock Slide, so be it, gets me below half health, but in comes Registeel, and this is actually Sweep City for Runerigus here, as its typing is absolutely lethal up against both Deoxys defense and Registeel, so Quillfish here is essentially a meat shield. However, we will be able to reach a couple of Dark Pulses here. Dark Pulse, going to be doing some solid damage onto the Registeel, so they do decide to respect it with a shield, and now Registeel is throwing their energy. At this point, Flash Cannon does take me out, and this isn't exactly going to be very comfortable for Runerigus, as it does take neutral damage from Flash Cannon. So I am going to respect this Flash Cannon with the shield, and Registeel does end up throwing the Flash Cannon. Runerigus is farming up on a ton of energy. I go for the Shadow Ball, but they catch onto Deoxys defense, so you know what? It's time for a combo play. Switch timer is up. We go for the Hydro Pump, and this will be taking out the Deoxys defense. Boom! One-shots the Deoxys defense. It's just the Registeel in the back, but Runerigus, even if the Registeel has Flash Cannon, still has a dominating matchup. So Runerigus tanks the Flash Cannon, reaches the Shadow Ball, and this will be enough damage to KO the Registeel. So that's going to be a good game to my opponent, very well played. Let's hop into the next match. Hopping into game number 7, picking up a lead up against Skarmory. This is definitely where we want to see Skarmory, as both of our back Pokemon don't necessarily have the most comfortable matchups. So we're going to go for an Avalanche here on the Shadow Cloyster. It is noted that we do definitely win CMP over the Skarmory. Skarmory commits a shield, and here's another fun fact. Because Ice Shard generates 10 energy on its energy delta as opposed to Sky Attack, which generates 9 energy, we outpaced the second Sky Attack. It doesn't really matter because my opponent comes in Umbreon and we come in with Hisuian Quillfish. Now this isn't necessarily the most comfortable matchup for Hisuian Quillfish, but at the very least we are able to resist both Snarl and Foul Play. Opponent throws the last resort, but Hisuian Quillfish can tank it. And now, I'm just going to try and go for an Aqua Tail, but I get a little bit too greedy. I'm going to call the Foul Play. It's just the Foul Play, so a huge call on my part. I'm throwing in between the Snarls here, trying to make sure this Umbreon doesn't gain any excess energy. Aqua Tail gets the Umbreon very low. I throw another Poison Jab and then go for the next Aqua Tail just as they reach the next Foul Play. Umbreon commits a shield, and now my opponent comes in with the Skarmory, and I think you know what time it is. We are shielding up so we can get to the back-to-back avalanches. Skarmory will not like the damage here. As Shadow Cloyster reaches an avalanche, this will take out the Skarmory from this range. Skarmory goes down. In the back, they have a Unova Stunfisk. We reach the Hydro Pump. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your headphones once more. Boom! One-shots the Unova Stunfisk. Unfortunately, Umbreon will take out my Shadow Cloyster, but at this point, we have a fully healthy Runerigus in the back, so we throw in the Quillfish, it gets farmed down, but Runerigus will Shadow Claw down in time and be able to get us the win. Hopping into game number 8, leading Shadow Cloyster into yet another Altaria. We've seen this play out before. I don't need to throw any moves here. Opponent switches into Deoxys defense, and I come in with Hisuian Quillfish. Now, I will admit that this was in fact on instinct. I really should have come in here with the Runerigus, but in hindsight, it might actually be a little bit more beneficial that I come in here with my soft counter. Reason being that I end up getting both shields here in this matchup because my opponent gets scared of the Shadow Ball, and I get to save Runerigus for a potential steel or ground type in the back. It could either be G-Fisk or Bastiodon, maybe Nidoqueen. I'm not 100% sure yet at this point in the match, but I do come in with the Shadow Cloyster, and at this point, I'm feeling really good. I'm getting wins with this team, so I'm just testing out Shadow Cloyster. How good is it really? Can it Ice Shard down a Deoxys defense from this health range? To be quite honest with you, I had no idea what I was doing in this moment. I just was hoping against hope that my opponent would do something stupid. And they come in with a Nidoqueen, and I panic swap in Runerigus. Really, the win was very straightforward here. I just go Avalanche, Avalanche, GG. But you know what? Runerigus can come in. I don't know what I was thinking, guys. I'm just going to be fully upfront with you. Nonetheless, I actually go for the CMP here. I was expecting to be taken out by the Poison Fang, but I do forget that Runerigus double resists poison type attacks. So as you're going to see here, I no-bubble the move, and I really should have stopped attacking and let Nidoqueen take me out from this range, but I attack, and they go down. Altaria gets a little bit of farm in, but it really doesn't matter because we do have that Avalanche stored. Opponent tries to catch on Deoxys defense. I build up to the back-to-back Avalanches, and at this point, I have this game in the bag. Avalanche will KO the Deoxys defense, and the second Avalanche will KO the Altaria. Ladies and gentlemen, boom! Altaria gets absolutely one-shot by an Avalanche, and we take the win. Hopping into the penultimate match, leading Shadow Cloyster into Charmeleon Ninetales. Charmeleon Ninetales absolutely sucks for this entire team. So we safe switch into Runerigus and we lure out a Sableye. Yikes. This game is not going very well from the start. We go for the Sand Tomb. Sand Tomb gets a shield, which is absolutely massive. I'm just going to keep going straight Sand Tomb right here. No point in going for the Shadow Ball. My opponent is very likely to shield. I make a very gutsy shield call here, going to keep this Runerigus alive and try to make the play for switch. However, as you're going to see in a minute, I make a very dumb move. I shield up the foul play, go for a Sand Tomb right here. Sand Tomb gets my opponent very low, and I don't throw the next Sand Tomb. That is unfortunate. If only I just had a little bit more of a brain in me, maybe I could have been able to win this game. But as you see, Swampert in the back. I try to catch the Hydro Cannon. I'm unsuccessful. And at this point, we lose this game straight up. Like, there's no foreseeable win con here. And that was just a really tough team comp, so not much we can do against a Charmeleon Ninetales. Well, we did play this one, I wouldn't say as well as we could, but we put up a decent fight. So Aqua Tail going to be taking out the Alolan Ninetales. Opponent lets me get to a Dark Pulse here, but this will just get shielded. And at this point, Swampert can take me out here. I think this is the Earthquake BM. I know Rise said that he would totally do the same thing. And upon watching his take on this, I also would totally do the same thing. So massive props for the opponent for the BM right there. As we hop into the final match, leading into another Altaria, this time a shiny Altaria. My opponent bails into Trevenant and we're able to make a catch, catching the Seed Bomb onto Hisuian Quillfish. This will basically do no damage, and at this point, I'm just going to commit all the way to the farm down here. No point in really going for a move, especially if I could just give up only one shield, which I'm totally fine with doing, if it means preserving a little bit of health and leaving with a ton of energy. Back in comes the Altaria. Altaria will not appreciate the damage output from these Dark Pulses. Dark Pulse number 1 coming through. Opponent lets it go through, getting Altaria into the yellow. Second Dark Pulse coming through. Opponent also lets it go through. We Poison Jab down the Altaria, and in the back is a Lantern. And at this point, I really need shields down in order for Runerigus to thrive here. So I come in with the Shadow Cloyster basically as a meat shield, going for the first Avalanche. Avalanche gets a shield, which is very nice. Opponent throws a move. I'm just going to let this Shadow Cloyster go down. Opponent goes for the Surf. Not recommended play right there, as I'm able to reach a second Avalanche, and hopefully this gets a shield. Shadow Cloyster able to grab the second shield, and this sets up Runerigus for a very, very clean endgame. I can no-shield the very first move. Surf will not KO from this range. Let it go through, and at this point, I could just shield up the next Surf, and I'll be able to safely reach the Shadow Ball in time to take out the Lantern. So this is a good game. We'll wrap this up here with a nice Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball takes out the Lantern, and we get the win. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for helping this channel get to 500 subscribers. At the beginning of the summer, it's tough to imagine that I was only at like 30 or so subscribers, so that's awesome that we've come this far in such a short time period. Please keep up the support. I really appreciate it, you guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my future videos. Take care for now, and be sure to check out my Spotify links with access to all my music. And if you have a spicy team composition and feel like sending it in, I will shoutcast your battles live here on the channel. Just fill out the link in the description. That said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.